Whispers from the Abyss. The Possessed Narration. In the heart of a small, forgotten town, nestled deep within the shadows of an ancient forest, there was a peculiar house. It stood alone, weathered and dilapidated, bearing scars from a sinister history. Locals whispered stories of dark rituals and forbidden knowledge passed down through generations, all centered around the house's sole inhabitant, a reclusive storyteller known only as Malachi. Late at night, when the moon hung low and the stars offered only the faintest glimmer of hope, the town would fall into a hushed stillness. It was at this eerie hour that Malachi would emerge from his abode, clutching an old leather-bound tome. He would walk the deserted streets, his lantern casting grotesque shadows that seemed to writhe and dance in the moonlight. The town's curious and brave would gather in secret, drawn by the lure of Malachi's cryptic narrations. They would huddle together in the inky darkness, their breaths visible as ghostly tendrils in the cold night air. And as Malachi began to speak, the world around them would melt away, leaving only the chilling tales that consumed their senses. One fateful night, Malachi began a story unlike any he had told before. He spoke of an unholy possession, a malevolent force that had lain dormant for centuries, waiting for a vessel to claim. The tale was of a family, the Hawthorns, who had once inhabited the very house where Malachi now resided. The Hawthorns, it was said, had practiced forbidden arts. Their hunger for power led them to a cursed amulet, said to be a key to unspeakable dominion. When they unearthed the amulet, the very earth seemed to recoil, and the skies bled a torrential rain of blood. As Malachi's words flowed like a poison, the audience felt the room around them grow colder. It was as if the very atmosphere was charged with a malevolence that clawed at their sanity. They watched in horror as he described how the amulet's malevolent spirit had torn through the Hawthorns, consuming them one by one. But it was the youngest daughter, Sarah, who had been the vessel for this ancient evil. As Malachi spoke her name, his eyes took on a sinister gleam, and the flickering lantern cast eerie, distorted shadows across his face. The audience was spellbound, unable to look away as he revealed the gruesome fate that had befallen Sarah. Sarah Hawthorne, once a sweet child, had become a nightmarish puppet of darkness. Her eyes had turned a deep crimson, and her voice was no longer her own. She had become a conduit for the malevolent force, a harbinger of terror. And as Malachi's voice grew more unhinged, the audience realized with a sinking dread that he was not merely narrating the story. He was channeling the very entity he described. As the tale reached its climax, the room seemed to pulse with a sinister energy. Malachi's lantern shattered, plunging them into pitch darkness save for the ghastly glow of his eyes. His voice took on an otherworldly, guttural tone, and the air grew heavy with a putrid stench. Then, with a voice that sent shivers down their spines, Malachi declared, "Sarah Hawthorne lives, still possessed by the ancient evil that lingers in this very house." As the words left his lips, his body convulsed, and dark tendrils seemed to surge from him, coalescing into a shadowy figure that loomed over the crowd. Panic erupted as the possessed Malachi, his features contorted in agony, lunged at the terrified onlookers. Chaos and terror gripped the room as they fled, but the darkness seemed to chase them, wrapping them in a suffocating grip. Blood-curdling screams echoed through the night, lost in the haunted woods. When dawn broke, the town was silent once more. The house stood empty, and no trace of Malachi remained. The townsfolk dared not speak of that night for fear that the malevolent force still lingered, waiting to claim its next vessel. And so, the house in the heart of the forgotten town remained a place of dread, where cryptic narrations had given way to a horrifying reality. The night Malachi became a part of the very story he told was a night forever etched in the darkest corners of their souls, a tale too gruesome to recount, even in whispers. Whispers from the Abyss. The Possessed Narration. In the heart of a small, forgotten town, nestled deep within the shadows of an ancient forest, there was a peculiar house.